Malawa. Gunite!
Feel good.
Yeah, a few episodes in, still making a crack of every single time. It's worth it. It's absolutely worth it.
This is still great.
As it should be, it's a great track. Everyone should have it in their playlist at some point or another, just because it's a great song to boogie to.
There's a cover on Spotify by the band Tragedy that's really good. It's really heavy.
Galactic Empire needs to do a version of it. They haven't done so yet, but Galactic Empire needs to do a version of it.
I think because it's got lyrics in it.
Yeah, true. They could just make it
interesting. Oh, no, they did Duel of the Fates, didn't they?
Yeah.
Huh.
It would work. But anyway, good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Sith And Scoundrel podcast. My name is Phil, and joined, of course, by Matt, as per usual. Sorry this one isn't going out live. This is, unfortunately, pre-recorded purely because I am stupidly busy, but thank you, Matt, for being able to kind of shift things around. So, good evening, my friend. How are you doing?
I'm all right, my man. I'm good. Don't worry about the moving around because I've got the week off anyway, so I wasn't really doing much else. Yeah, I'm good, mate. I've had a week off. I've had a very, very busy weekend, like food festivals, and I worked on Sunday, which is a nightmare, but it's all go over here. How are you? Are you ready for Expo this weekend? The UK Games Expo 2020.
Oh, it is UK Games Expo. We will be streaming it over on the Firecast Focus. I'm about as ready as I can be since AMG dropped the points literally 2 weeks ago, so no one knows what the hell's going on or what the meta is. Although they did then bring out the new TIE bombers, went, here, these are all legal. And then everyone went, ha, and broke them within 5 minutes. So that's going to be,
lots of bombers, okay.
To be fair, luckily I have Cad Bane and Dirge in their rogue class with proton cannons and go, here's bullseye range. You can't spend your green tokens. I just nuke bombers every single turn. It's fine. I will be fine.
I'm just happy that they do things like shift the meta before an event like this close. That's exciting for me. I don't like these like 40k tournaments and stuff that just go, anything released after this date isn't. I can understand why they do it, but I like that the ground shake up and you're going into it going, we have no idea what the mat's going to be. That's exciting because it really comes down to skill and not that those things. That's very cool.
Indeed, and to be fair, we do have a rule of if it's 2 weeks before, then they kind of lock it in, but if not, then it's absolute fair game. So they kind of dropped it the day before Chris locked off all the rules and stuff, purely because if you do it like the day before, no one's going to have a chance to even get anything ready. So I do kind of appreciate it. But even AMG themselves came out yesterday and went, look, we realize our communication hasn't been that great. So what we're planning on doing is taking every single frequently asked question you have and doing a release every now and again with all the FAQs, with all the updates, with announcements of rule changes and points changes and everything else for every single Star Wars IP in one hit, and they're doing it every few months. So they're actually trying to be more transparent, which is nice. They're actually listening to the players, which is something that a lot of companies could take notice of.
It's nice, and it's nice they're doing it now. I mean, it's good that they're doing it now because from what I'm hearing is they're having an absolute nightmare with the rollout of Shatterpoint at the moment. So to do the X-Wing stuff now anyway is awesome because they've definitely got their hands full with some quite chronic quality control issues.
That they do. Although, to be fair, they did just, like a couple hours ago, announce the Republic Commandos for Shatterpoint, which look very, very pretty. And like, ooh.
The ones in Luminara and Barris.
Yes.
Yeah, they're very cool. A lot of people are not happy with the lightsabers. Apparently, the one on Obi-Wan is ridiculous. It's just a very, very needle point of plastic. So
I have heard that.
Anyone watching this, magnetic trays, do not put your Shatterpoint Jedi and Sith in foam trays. For the love of God. Or drill it out and replace the lightsaber blade with a bit of brass rod. It's about the same width, apparently. Yeah.
A bit of LED filament, it's fine. Actually make it light up.
I don't understand how you do it with X-Wing. I don't understand how people do it with Legion models. I'm quite happy just to use fluorescent paints and leave the voodoo to other people.
It's not that difficult. It's a bit of jimmying, a bit of pride, a bit of drilling, a bit of soldering. It's fine, nothing major.
I was magnetizing some Adeptus Titanicus models for a friend of mine. And I was using a 3mm drill bit to do magnet holes in a masonry drill. This is all I've got, holding these tiny little guns on my leg and going, please, God, please, 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 please. Okay with that. Please, we're fine. And I didn't run into myself or anything. It's totally safe to be supervised, but it's a bit like using a sledgehammer to open a walnut.
Yeah, it's not exactly the most delicate way, but if it gets the job done, it gets the job done.
It worked.
Oh, indeed. But you've had some time off, which meant you caught up with Andor and says where we're up to.
I have caught up with Andor.
But before we get to that, where are you now up to with Rebels? Because I'm really interested to see where you're up to, considering our conversation last week.
Yeah, where am I up to? It's a bit scary. You know, I've been so busy over the weekend. I've not had a lot of time to watch Rebels, to be honest. It's working and social stuff due to it being a bank holiday weekend. I've not had as long as I've wanted to watch Rebels. And I've had very long days in very much heat because it's been very, very warm. So it's mainly been switched off the evening, playing Marvel Snap on my phone and having The Simpsons on in the background because I kind of want to give Rebels like the attention it deserves. But I've just got whichever one it is where Rex and Kanan have to work together, and Rex is just like you can't hit anything. It's like it's these helmets, and I thought that was really fun. I was like, that's a good little.
He just throws one at them. It's like this is just useless and loves it.
That was amazing. And Kanan was all like, I don't want to work with you, and he was just like, you've got no choice. So that's where I'm up to. Which isn't too much further than the last time we spoke.
I think it's just the one episode, to be honest, that further on. Because I'm waiting for you to get to the one after where you're up to, because I'm expecting the message to come through. I know what's going to happen. I'm expecting a certain message to come through.
Yeah, do you know what? Like I said, I am really enjoying it, but watching Andor in amongst everything else I've been doing, and, you know, I've just needed to, like, shut down the evenings really and just go, I'm just going to put The Simpsons on. And just tick it through while doing something else because it's been a pretty intense few days. But I want to give Rebels the attention it deserves. Like, I really want to physically sit down and lock in on it and not be doing something else at the same time because I'm thoroughly enjoying it. The more I see the animation style, the more I really want an Afro series done in that style. I love it.
I would absolutely love that.
Yeah,
the Sith And Scoundrel, not the Make Afro live action ship. But they might as well be at this point. We want it. It will happen, and the day it does,
I think an animated one. I think the CGI style, the art direction for Rebels would suit Afro quite well.
Yeah,
as well, and the high adventure side of it. Yeah, I think I prefer like a CG Afro done like Rebels instead of like a live action one. I think the more I've been watching it.
It means it's like a few more liberties with 000 and BT1 and things as well.
Oh yeah, you're not limited by actual, not that Lucasfilm are or Disney are limited by any tech at all. There is no limit when the Disney cash cow is concerned. It's Disney money. But I think just some of the set pieces and stuff, I just would like to see them rendered in 3D like that. Because I actually really like the art style of Rebels. And it's quite funny. I've been talking to a lot of people the past couple of days. In a social group here, and I've been like, you've got to watch Rebels, you've got to watch Rebels, and everyone said the same thing I did. Everyone's like, I've watched the first few and it's super kiddie, and I was like, I was the same as you. I was like you. Stick with it. So
I've been saying all along, you've got to get past that first half of the first season, and then it just clicks and it picks up.
It's very interesting for talking to my friends here about it. And they're all saying the same thing. Same thing with Clone Wars, I said. Yeah. But now I can honestly watch it. Like, please watch it. I think a friend of mine, Tess, really big Star Wars fan, but she watched Rogue One for the first time last night because her husband had already seen it. And he was just like, oh, it's all right. It goes on for too long. So she was like live messaging me last night, watching it. And I got a selfie of her crying at the end. It was so cool.
What was our conversation afterwards? Was what is your favorite Star Wars film and why is it Rogue One?
Yeah. And she was just crying. She was like, what is going on? She's like, I think she stopped halfway through to make dinner for her and her husband.
Yeah.
For her and Gawain. And she was just like, I'll get back to it. I've got 40 minutes left. And I was like, oh, that 40 minutes is where everything happens.
Yeah.
Can you hurry up and get back to it? So, yeah, she really, really enjoyed Rogue One, bless her. And now she's super fired up because she's Canadian. Not got lots to do with anything, but in the transition, like moving her citizenship, she didn't see Rogue One. That was the first time she's watched it. So she's now going to move on to The Mandalorian.
What did you think of that corridor scene?
Do you know what? Yeah, she loved it. She loved all of it, man. Like the Vader corridor scene was amazing. It was the Leia drop that really got her, but she got really. And this is actually quite a good kind of tenuous link into talking about Andor. She got very attached to Chirrut Baze. To her, she described Jin as a mix of Rey and Leia, and I really liked that because I've not made that kind of connection before.
No,
She was like, she's kind of like a mix of Rey and Leia, and I'd never thought about it. And then the more I kind of mulled it over, I was like, oh no, she's right. She is right. Yeah, and she liked it. She loved K2SO. She absolutely adored K2SO, and the message I got after he went was not a happy one. I think it was, why did you do this to me?
It does hit you where you live more than it should for a droid. It's just
really was.
That's testament to Alan Tudyk, who's just a fantastic actor anyway. I mean, he has quite a lot of range if you go from like a Hey in one all the way then through to Wash and Firefly, and then here and
the Knight's Tale, dude. Like, he was like everyone. I think I keep forgetting he was in A Knight's Tale with Paul Bettany.
Yeah.
Even at Knight's Tale, he was fantastic. So, yeah, I got a lot of someone getting very excited to meet characters she'd never met before. To blaming me for doing that. It's like, why did you do this to me? And I think she's a little bit annoyed because her husband is just like, oh, it's all right, it just goes on for too long, and she's watched it going, what?
What's he hidden from? This is a gem.
Yeah, so yeah, she's going to do our first watch through of The Mandalorian soon.
Nice.
And also Clone Wars and Rebels as well. So I'm really excited for our first watch through of Mandalorian.
To be fair, actually, so I did a Star Wars quiz last night with a couple of friends of mine at a pub, and just thinking,
did you win?
Yes, we won.
Good. Okay.
Yeah, we
can have some pedigree, so it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, out of we only won by 1 point, but it doesn't matter because out of a possible 76.5 points, we got 73.5.
What's the half point for?
The half point was for the spelling of Kashyyyk.
K-A-S-H-Y double K?
Triple Y.
Oh.
And Robin, to be fair, was the only one at the table who got it right. We outvoted him 4-1, and he got it right. So if we listened to it, we would have won by a full point rather than a half point. But, but it was worth it, to be fair. So we did win, but there was no Rogue One questions. We had a few Mando questions, but no Rogue One questions.
I think it's kind of sad that The Mandalorian was so good. It's kind of eclipsed Rogue One a bit, right? People kind of tend to forget about it now.
Yeah.
I remember first seeing the trailers for that film and just losing my mind, like seeing the AT-ATs again and, like the U-Wings and stuff. And I genuinely, I'm saying this because it's all relatively fresh in my mind from talking about it yesterday, I really liked Krennic.
Yes.
Like, I really liked Krennic because he wasn't really a bad guy. He was a victim of his own ambition.
Just be careful not to choke on your own aspirations, director.
Yeah, absolutely. No, absolutely. I was for the Vader making puns. Yeah. I really liked him as a villain, and like he wasn't, when he goes after Jyn when she gets the plans, he wasn't doing it to be like, oh, I'm the bad guy. It was completely fueled by, you've ruined like my masterpiece. And he's like so angry at her for what she's done that it's like really believable.
That's what I know. Some people complain about the animation a little bit with CG, but I really like Guy Henry as Tarkin in it as well. He does a fantastic job.
I can't understand how people complain about the CG. When I saw it in the cinema, I thought it was unused footage of Tarkin.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
So realistic. Like, I don't know. Complain about
I actually met him at a con a few years ago, so I've actually got my Rogue One signed by him and asked him how he kind of prepared for Tarkin. He went, to be honest, I just sat and watched. You may fire when ready, and he used that specific clip and that specific notions to kind of get the voice pattern and speech pattern down for him, and it was really kind of fascinating talking to because I went from Holby to Star Wars. It's kind of a big jump.
Did he wear slippers?
I don't know what he could have done, and that was a genuine question last night: was which Star Wars actor refused to wear the footwear he was provided and wore comfy slippers instead. It's like, well, Peter Cushing.
Peter Cushing. He was wearing fluffy slippers when he blew up Oberon.
Exactly.
So, you know what? It's interesting you say that Hobby City to thing and Tess really liking characters in Rogue One. So let's talk about second 3 episodes of Andor.
Yeah, now I must admit, I thought you would enjoy these a little more than you did. We'll get into why as we go on, because this is the heist. So we got past the introduction, we got past the background information that you don't get out of Rogue One for Andor, like kind of who he is, or where he's kind of come from, in the little drips and drabs. And we spoke about how much, especially I like the flashbacks. We don't need the subtitles; you can kind of understand what they're saying. So you find out a bit more Andor, and this is kind of Luthen going, "All right, I've got a job, and the rest of them are okay. I kind of need the last piece of the puzzle, and I will pay you to go and basically kind of sort this lot out because I don't believe they can get the job done." And as being a heist, especially knowing you, I thought you might be a little bit more over this, especially like you can compare it very much to the heist in Solo on the train, but obviously this is a little bit more long form and I think a little bit more intricate. But I like it.
The problem I'm having with Andor at the moment is Andor.
Yeah.
I personally find him incredibly uncharismatic, and I've not found a single thing likable about the character yet. So this ties through to the Tess and Rogue One thing. She didn't mention Andor once except for, this is who the TV series is about. She was like, Jin, I love Jin, and Katie Oeso, it's such a babe, and Chirrut and Baze are amazing, and Bodhi's great. She didn't mention Andor once, and I'm finding it very difficult to watch, to stay invested and enjoy a TV series, Star Wars or not, with a protagonist that's completely unlikable and has literally zero charisma. There is nothing so far that's made, he's not said anything or done anything that's made me like the dude.
Yeah.
And that's really hard when he's the titular character. The next 3, I was like, a heist, that's brilliant. But I know he survives. Like, there's no danger in the heist. And what I'm enjoying about Andor has nothing to do with Andor. It's the bits and pieces around it. But I found these 3 episodes very distracting because there's a lot of actors who have had bit parts in other things that I've seen. And that's really distracting. So, the Imperial officer, not the one with the bun, the other dude.
Yeah.
That walk around doing the inspections.
Yeah.
He did a lot with Ricky Gervais in the David Brent film. He was the rapper in the Equality Street video. I spent a good half hour going, who is it? Who is it? Who is it? IMDb, that's Equality Street. Couldn't unsee it. There was a lot of people that were in Game of Thrones in it. Like a lot of people. There's very much English actors. You can tell they did a lot of it over here.
Yeah.
But the big one was, so when he... I say the big one. When he gets to the camp.
Yeah.
When he lands at the camp and you've got the guy that really doesn't seem to trust him at all. He's going through his bag and stuff. He, I don't know the actor's name, but he played Richie in The Bear, and The Bear is the best TV I've seen in the past 2 years, maybe. That is the most incredible series on Disney Plus, and if you've not seen it, go watch it because it's phenomenal. But he's in that, and he's super strong. He's very good, and he does it in The Bear. He's very good at playing an unlikable character and making that character likable, which is exactly what he's done in Andor. Because there's a tension, but he ends up being likable. When it boils over and they get that little fight on the mountain when he finds the Kyber crystal, he's very good at playing that kind of character. And he's a stronger actor than Diego Luna, I think, personally. So my struggle with Andor is that I do not care about the titular character, and that's very difficult.
Yeah.
It's a shame that he's got no charisma. Now the heist in Solo is fantastic because everyone's a character. And you've got some really big personalities and some really big charisma. You've got like the Woody Harrison, Beckett. You've got the Beckett and Val thing going on, where she's like setting the charges, and they're clearly like very in love with each other. You got John Favreau's at Rio, the pilot. Yeah. So you got Rio, and he's really fun. And you got Han and Chewie, so that's amazing. You know Han and Chewie survive, but the rest of the characters involved in the heist are really likable.
Yeah.
They're really charismatic. They're big characters. Tobias Beckett is wonderful when you first meet him. And it's that the thing that sells it on that is when you first meet him on Minbad.
Yeah.
And he's got like, the bullet hole through the armor or whatever, and they like make a joke about it.
Yeah.
I liked that a lot. So yeah, what I'm enjoying about Andor is everything that's happening around Andor, which is very kind of difficult. Like when they're in the Highlands and the TIE fighters doing like the strafing run down the river.
Yeah, I mean, that is really cool. And to be fair, also TIE fighters being scary as they should be. That proper noise, that proper they're not.
They're almost like the Luftwaffe.
Yeah, it is very much that. It's the low flying. It's that noise is very distinctive. That twin ion engine is very distinct. It's one of the greatest noises in Star Wars, and to have it be a proper threat, even just a patrol, kind of helps sell the realism of okay, this is kind of a big deal.
So when they're bombing it around the canyon and all the stuff with the TIE pilots, like doing all their prep and stuff when they're escaping. After I finished that episode, I immediately went and watched that TIE fighter anime again because it's incredible. Like it's so good. It's hard to not like the Imperials in Andor, and that's weird for me. That's so weird for me because it is like watching a group of Saw Gerrera's extremists.
Yeah,
it's like I was sat there going, I've always known the Rebel Alliance is kind of a terrorist cell, but this really feels like that, and that's like quite morally jarring in a way.
Yeah. Now, without spoiling anything else, the best is yet to come with a lot of this kind of stuff. It's interesting me hearing you say this. I'm going to love the comparisons going to come down the line. But from these 3 episodes, the Empire definitely does have more of the. When you're not looking at the ISB, you're not looking at the Imperial Security Bureau and Dejimiro, and you're not looking at the full-on intensive high command stuff. When you look at the day-to-day life of the Empire, it's. What really gets me is I can't remember the actor, the larger guy at the end with his family, and his whole thing is, look, we kind of get through this entire meeting.
And I'm annoyed they had to make him like obviously a bad guy, where he threatens to hit the kid. I'm like, you could have just made him a grumpy dad. Like, there's nothing wrong with letting us root for characters in the Empire.
Yeah,
and
man. It's one of those things of that. Those scenes is what makes that episode. For me, those 3 episodes great is by the end of it, you have the Empire who, as you go through, you go, yeah, okay, they don't like these natives having their meetings, all the rest of it. You can't they're being the Empire. They're putting the boot down. But they're there just for a paycheck. They're just doing their job. They know it's better than you either are with the Empire or you kind of don't get along in life. And that's kind of what they're there for. But even the ones like in the control tower who are obviously coordinating with the Aldani base with the actual pilots and everything, they're just kind of, it's a day-to-day life.
It's a job. It's the ones who are just like, Sergeant, the men really want to go watch the Eye. There's nothing else to do on this planet. Could we go too? All right, I want those stairs painted by like Monday or whatever. And I was like, these are just normal dudes with like family. And I got a really good, interesting debate about it. Because I was watching it with Chanel, and we sat there and just like, I was like, oh gosh, they're really ramping up this like terrorism aspect of the Rebel Alliance, and I kind of feel bad for the Empire. And she was just like, well, but they're bad guys, they're fascists, they're these big guys, they've done bad things. And I was like, yeah, but to these people it's a job. Like, They're never going to meet Palpatine. They're never going to meet Vader. As far as they're aware, it's like being enlisted in any standing military of any country in our current world. Just like, yeah, but they've done all these horrendous things. I was like, yeah, but so has the military. You know, it brings up a really interesting moral question of to what extent did these guys' knowledge just go? You know, it's like people going to join like the British Army or going to a recruitment office on the high street and joining the army in the UK. And you're never going to meet the head of the English military ever. You'd never, ever. And it's like, you know, he could be this. I don't know who he is, but, you know, he's not obviously, well, could be a Palpatine-esque character. I don't know. But the point was that your basic rank and file, you don't know the hierarchy. So I'm kind of feeling bad for the Imperials. And like, while I'm on that note, the leader of the group, I can't remember his name, but the ex-Stormtrooper.
Oh yeah, him. Yes, yeah.
God, it just made me feel bad for John Boyega.
Yes.
I was like, oh, we've already had an ex-Stormtrooper who joins the cause. So now we're doing it again. I was like, okay. For me, that was really like, oh, okay, we've had that once. I get you've got an ex-Stormtrooper, but maybe they still did Finn dirty.
It's done better though this time around.
But it's annoyed me because they did Finn dirty. You know, it was done better this time round. You're right. Should have been done right the first time round. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, it's very conflicting for me because I find myself, that was a plural. I find myself in a weird impasse where the rebels are being terrorists. You know, there's no two ways about it. And, you know, the Imperial characters we're meeting are really like low-level guys who are just like, this is my job.
Yeah,
I'm just here watching this. I'm going to play cards with my friends, and there's this festival, and we've got permission from our standing officer that we can go watch the pretty lights because we're on a backwater planet and we kind of hate it. Yeah, and then you kind of feel really bad for them all, like, you know. And then the commandant who gets made to carry all the money and everything, who's like, "Please don't hurt my family." I was like, man, they're just not doing anything to make Andor likable, like at all. It's just, I don't know what it is. He's got no charisma. It's like watching. If he was ice cream flavor, he'd be vanilla.
Fair. I mean, I disagree a little bit because actually I do think Diego Luna is fantastic. But he does. The best is yet to come. But in these 3 episodes, you start to see him kind of have his own way of thinking in terms of course, he wants nothing to do with the manifest. He wants nothing to do with the actual alliance. He's just there to get his paycheck and get out of there, which isn't the best way of going about doing things, which is one of the reasons why he's not likable at this point. However, you do get to the end of it where after the heist has been completed, and I know I'm jumping ahead a little bit here, but you get onto the planet where, of course, the guy's having his operation, don't know if he's going to be alive or dead. And you said the guy throws his satellite going, you know, how much credits are in there? It's like 40 million. Like, just take half. We kill them. I'm out of here. The entire story was a joke, and he ended up Andor killed him.
Like, have you watched The Bear?
No,
because that is just the type of character he's really good at playing. He's so good in The Bear, and effectively he's just playing this guy who's inherently super unlikable. But he does it in a way that makes him quite likable. He's a very, very strong actor. So when he's talking about splitting the credits, I was like, oh, it's such a Richie move. Because that's exactly the same character he's playing in The Bear, and he does it so well. I did, when the Doctor appeared on screen, I was like, oh, he's handy. Not realising. I was just genuinely like, oh, having a surgeon with 4 arms is like really useful. I was like, he's handy. Like, oh no, that was accidental. That was quite fun. Looked a lot like Maz as well.
Yeah,
like a lot like Maz, like the orange with lenses and ear things.
Yeah,
4 arms. I thought that was very strange. That was very, very strange.
I've literally just come across Maz in the High Republic. So like that would be happy.
You?
Yep.
What is she?
Because Takadana has a Jedi temple on it, which gets attacked by the Nihil. So she ends up defending her home planet and her little Maz's castle. She's taken the youngling and everything. It's a really cool little bit of it. So there's more of Maz.
How far before Force Awakens is that set?
Oh, before Force Awakens. Jeez, a long time, because this is 200 years before Episode 1. So you're talking, what, 260 years before The Force Awakens?
I love that character so much.
Yeah.
And they gave us no answers about who she was. Now you're telling me she was alive like 200 years before Phantom Menace?
Yep.
So she's what, 500-600 years old?
At least.
Who is she? Oh, it drives me insane. She's such a good character, and she had so much mystery around her anyway. And
Lupita Nyong'o does an amazing job with her as a character, as a voice and things.
I love her. I think she's so interesting. Was such an interesting addition to that movie. And even when she turned up in Last Jedi on the hologram, and she's like, "Oh, I gotta go. I'm shooting people." And I was like, "What are you up to? You're so good." Yes, the Doctor was a lot of that. It was confusing. Why is she alive that long? I need to know who she is. I'm driving insane. Anyway, him splitting the treasure, that's very much like his character. In the back.
I agree with you in that kind of way. That it's a despicable, likable act. You know what I mean? It's that kind of doing the wrong thing the right way.
I've got to admit, like, without K2SO, I find Andor very dull. I feel like he needs him to bounce off of, because at least there's a bit of charm and almost a little bit of humor behind K2SO's just like, well, basically autism, wasn't it? He was just saying as he saw it. So nice to have that to bounce off of. But what I'm finding most interesting in Andor is the Mon Mothma stuff.
Yes.
And like, could the series have just been about Mon Mothma? Like, that would have been excellent. Like, she's so compelling to watch, and it's because the same reason I like the first season of Game of Thrones, and it's the only season I really, really like of Game of Thrones, is because it's so political. And I find it was nice seeing her back at the Senate again. Her relationship with her husband and her daughter is really interesting. Her relationship with the other senators, she's the best thing about Andor so far.
Yeah, Genevieve O'Reilly smashes out of the park in this series.
She's very, very compelling to watch.
She is, and I know I keep saying it, but genuinely the best is yet to come with her character as well. Like the first 5 episodes, or first 6 episodes of Andor, it's a slow burner, very slow burner, this series. But it really starts to pick up. But Genevieve O'Reilly, of course, played in the deleted scenes, played Mon Mothma in Revenge of the Sith. Then came back for she's in Rebels as Mon Mothma.
She was in Rebels as well. Amazing.
Yeah, she does the voice for in that. She's also then, of course, in Rogue One, and then now Andor, and she's made the character her own.
It's the most incredible casting, though. Like, it does look like Mon Mothma from Jedi, so that's cool. I'm down with that. It's very clever.
Yeah. To me, though, Genevieve O'Reilly is Mon Mothma. I can't remember the actual top of my head who played in Return of the Jedi, but that was one scene versus what has been a film plus a number of series and growing.
Smashing it. She's so interesting. I would watch just a series about Bail, Organa, and Mon Mothma.
But it's her interactions with Luthen that I love. And Stellan Skarsgård, a fantastic actor anyway, but those two just bounce off so well.
I like the Luthen thing. Like when he put on his wig and stuff, it made me giggle when he was practicing his smile in the spaceship.
I love the fact that the wig just goes from it's obviously a wig to look, it's now absolutely perfect. Like, yeah. And
he was like smiling to himself and curtsying. He was really fun. It does feel very much like there's no real reason for Andor being in it except for like when Gandalf just threw Bilbo into the Hobbit party. Like, it felt very Gandalf and Bilbo to me. Almost he was like, a bit of adventure will do you good. Tell everyone your name's Clem. Basically. So it felt like that. Yeah, I like Luthen. and Mon Mothma are the most compelling, but Luther Mon Mothma and the day-to-day Imperials are the most compelling thing in Andor. And it's sad that Andor himself just... I personally, I just don't find him watchable. I don't really like his performance, and it's completely...
I'm going to be interested to see if that changes for next week in terms of the next 3 episodes. But I think for me, over the stretch to where you're up to, for me, the most intriguing character that I was wanting to learn more about the most was Dedra Meadow. Now, Meadow herself is completely fascinating. Now, Cyril is just a weird pain in the ass, but Meadow, it gets dark, and she plays it so well.
Wait, which one's she?
She's
the
ISB
officer. Yeah, okay. She's really good. See, again, everything in the ISB is excellent because
it's incredible.
They weren't bad guys going, ho, 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 let's take over the galaxy. They were doing investigative work and being like, you should really go home. No, I'm staying until you stay. And I was like, oh my God. Like that. Weirdly, she reminded me a lot of my mum.
Okay.
And obviously, a lot of people, my mum was an inspector for the police. And she would often stay very, very late at work, working. I know she used to pick me up for when I used to work late at Tesco's, and I'd be stuck in the police station till 3 o'clock in the morning because she got stuck on a case. So I know that's how those types of people operate. She reminds me a lot of my mum, like a lot of my mum, actually, which was weird. But it was very interesting, like, because they weren't, we're bad guys, let's take over the galaxy. They were just doing their job. They were just normal people doing their job. And I kind of feel bad for them. Because there's this group of people going around just blowing them all up and killing everyone. And they're trying to stop that happening. And
Andor takes the Rebel Alliance from freedom fighter to terrorist look very easily. And it's I had this discussion for last night again. We'll talk about it because for me, the debate definitely rages around what's considered to be either resistance versus terrorism, and it's the Rebel Alliance treads the line very, very carefully. Some, like Saw Gerrera, do it. They are proper terrorists. They are. He's an extremist, and he's very unhinged. Whereas Phoenix Squadron again is the complete opposite end of the scale. A lot of what they do, they try and benefit everyone around them, but still within that freedom fighter terrorist kind of banner.
Yeah, I think that's really fair. Like, at least when you get to A New Hope, at least the Rebel Alliance is kind of a standing army with a command structure. It's not so much out and out like guerrilla warfare. It's an army with a standing structure. They've got commanders, they've got a chain of command, they've got a fleet, and they're doing their part. And Rogue One didn't feel like a terrorist cell. It felt like a Black Ops unit.
Yeah.
It felt like Rebellion Special Forces, which is what I think they were. I think that's what they were meant to be. Like Bail and Mon Mothma.
Still 5 BBYs. There's still 5 years to go before they get to that point. So they're not fully organized for this point. They're not all one cell. They're just these groups that are kind of doing their hit and runs and kind of punching above their weight. And in some cases, in Saw's case, going above what they should. And in others, like Mon Mothma, you could argue not doing enough, even though she is out and out the most passive but also aggressive rebel of the lot by doing what she needs to in the Senate, knowing that she's a complete target day in, day out, whilst hiding everything else from everyone. That's why I love Genevieve O'Reilly, because she can turn on the charm whilst you know the knife is at your back. And it's so well done.
I just found watching her family dynamic fascinating. Like her relationship with her husband and her kid. And her kid's just like, Dad will take me, it's fine. And I just, she's so compelling, man. Like, she's sacrificing her home life for her life in the Senate. And she's struggling. She's visibly struggling like that. And this is what I mean. She's a really likable character in this.
Yeah.
Andor isn't. And you know what? I, with all my heart of hearts, just wish this series was just keep the same story and make it Chirrut and Baze.
Yeah.
Because they've got really good chemistry. They're really likable. Would they be good as the sum of their parts? I don't think so. If it was just Chirrut, I don't think it'll be good. If it was just Baze, I don't think it'll be good. Which is why I think Andor himself as a character needs Casey Westro.
Yeah, I mean, going through these 3 episodes, Skeen is obviously I'm in it for me. I say I'm part of the cause, I'm not. Whereas you have Nemec, who is I have a manifest, he's very much...
Yeah, dude.
I hate to use the words in a derogatory sense, but he's the most kind of like communist way of looking at it. He has a manifesto. He has a way of belief of, it's for the people, by the people. And and when he dies and wants Andor to have his manifest, Andor's not interested. But it's a very much, for me, Nemec is the character who I cared about the most. That when I was very surprised when they killed, but not just what they did, is how they did it as well, with the fact that he got crushed by the money. It was a hit.
What I find very interesting about this is, I've been a Star Wars fan for pretty much all my life, much like you. And I know the Empire are bad guys. And I know when you go to the original trilogy and it opens with Vader, who just outright starts choking rebel troopers and stuff, they're the bad guys, right?
Yeah.
Vader, stormtrooper, storming that Tantive, like, oh, here's the baddies. And they've always been the baddies. And yes, the prequel trilogy. And you go, because we've discussed this the other week, didn't we? Because it fires everything at like a real high top of the hierarchy level.
Yeah.
You go, these are bad guys. What I'm really struggling with Andor, I think, is there doesn't really seem to be any motive for why they're doing what they're doing. Because they don't know about Vader and Palpatine, and from what we've seen of the Imperials in this, they're normal people with wives and families that want to go do stuff. So without the assumed knowledge of what we have, because what it is when you're watching Andor, I think when you're watching any Star Wars content, is assumed knowledge because of everything we've seen. The danger with assumed knowledge, it doesn't give the characters any cause. It doesn't make them go, this is why we're doing this. So it's very difficult. Andor has no cause, and that's really hard. There's nothing driving him.
Not yet.
Oh, not yet, but he's still going ahead and doing all these things.
What I like, though, is Val, obviously, when they get to the encampment, she basically goes, all right, they have the whole discussion of why are you here, and each one then kind of gives their cause. Yeah. But as you say, Andor or Clem in this instance has no real bone in this fight. He's just there because he needs a paycheck, because he owes a lot of people money, because frankly, as you said last week, he is the week before, he is a very scummy person. He's not, he owes a lot of people money. He doesn't really think about anyone but himself. He's very self-centered. And at this point, he's just getting a paycheck because he can.
Who pulls him up on the Mimban thing when they were like, you weren't a soldier, you were a chef. You're a line cook.
Yeah, that was Skeen.
That was amazing because you just like, Andor, stop lying to everybody. It's like you weren't a soldier, you were a line cook.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh God. Like,
but you bring in that assumed knowledge. You bring in from Solo Mimban. We know what Mimban was like, so that's even more of it's a Walter Mitty situation of you're claiming false honor when that fight was not honorable. That was a dirty down the Empire doing the worst kind of deal, pitting people against themselves.
Yeah.
So the fact that you're then even lying about the fact that you were then part of that when you were just a cook, it kind of really hones in on the fact that Andor was just at this point in time not very likable, and for good reason.
But then I didn't really find him that likable in Rogue One. Out of everyone in Rogue One, Andor himself was like really dull, and he faded into the background because, like, if this series was about Jyn, I'd be completely fine with it because she gets played with. She's got quite a lot of character to her. And I think a lot of the character from, like I said, if Andor had a sidekick through this, like, like if he had K2SO with him, or even not K2, if that droid with the tracks had stayed with him.
B2 emo. Yeah.
But yeah, someone to bounce off of. It would be great. It'd be like
just a droid called emo. I'm like, yeah, this is funny. I like this.
On himself by himself would be completely redundant.
Yeah.
But with R2, there's. I'll use the Mighty Boosh analogy. I don't find Noel Fielding particularly funny, personally, unless he's with Julian Barrett. He needs the straight man to bounce off of to be funny. When he's by himself, it's just chaotic and there's no real structure, but he needs something to bounce off of. And I think a character like Andor needs something to bounce off of.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, the characters have been put with so far, no one's really that charismatic. Everyone's just really dour and a bit like, oh, well, we're doing this. Then, like, no one seems passionate except for the dude with the manifest.
Yeah, Namek, yeah.
And it's just like, we're fighting for this cause and trying to overthrow this empire. But, you know, right? No one's that passionate. And that's, I don't know. I am struggling with the characterizations, I think.
Yeah.
Because no one really seems to care about what they're doing except for Luthen. He's the only person who seems to care about what's going on.
And his assistant,
And his assistant. I can't work out, though, if is it his assistant or is he working for her? Because there's a couple of times that she spoke to him, and I was like, she's like, go polish some coins. I was just like,
she's his assistant, but basically also she bosses him around because he's like, he needs that kind of level. He needs that level, as it were, and she works well for that.
I was like, who is the boss here? Like, is he now frustrated with his work life? He has to go be like a recruiter for a terrorist organization.
Yeah. However, bouncing off of that back into the heist, though, I want to talk about on some of the more positive parts of it.
Yeah.
The visuals, because this is one of the most spectacular pieces of television that I've seen in a long time. The eye is just done so well.
Yeah, dude, there's literally no doubting that. The eye was stunning. Flying the ship up through the eye, being chased by the TIE fighters, I thought was excellent. You know, got like that 8-bit navigation system or something that probably only plays Frogger on it. But yeah, I thought that was incredible. And I liked the tribe that just turned up. I like the tribe that had the goat furs and stuff. And they were changing gifts. I thought that was cool. I thought that was very cool. Yeah, the eye itself was beautiful. But heist-wise, I preferred the Mandalorian. You know, when they go to get... God, what is it they go and get? I know I've gone blank. But, like, Fett's there and Fennec Shan's there. Fennec Shan and Cara June are sniping all the guys off the wall. Oh, it's the one with Bill Burr! Or he goes nuts in the canteen. Oh, God.
Yeah. When they're on the trucks with all the fuel.
Yeah, that's the one. What great episode.
Yeah.
Oh, that was so good. That is because Bill Burr was amazing. But, okay, it's the same thing, really. Here's an ex-stormtrooper that fought in a battle and is really annoyed about it. They're going to go on a heist, but they need him to lead the heist because he's got the experience.
But Bill Burr is the best ex-stormtrooper by far because he just, in one scene, goes, yep.
He's the
to Operation Cinder. Yeah, to that. Just dead because Operation Cinder is one of the most vile acts the Empire ever committed.
He goes nuts. He goes ham and he shoots the dude. And Mando takes his helmet off and he's like, I won't look. And they crawl out the window and you've got the sniper cover. And then Slave One turns up, and gets chased by TIE fighters and drops a seismic charge.
Yep. Oh. Love that scene.
Again, here's a bunch of characters with a bunch of personality that makes it really enjoyable to watch.
Yeah.
And effectively, really, the narrative beats of the heist were kind of the same. We've got to go undercover into the enemy's base to retrieve something, and then the escape goes wrong. Oh, it's a fraught escape. It's really the same narrative beats, but Mandalorian had the trucks being pursued by those guys on the bikes and stuff.
Yeah.
The Mando starts, he's taking them out.
With proper Mad Max Witness Me moments to it, yeah.
So they were on danger going in, and they got in because they were being celebrated as like heroes and stuff. Moko, they got in being like this honor guard. I liked that Imperial officer, the lieutenant.
Yeah.
It was part of the cause, and he was cool. I liked him. He was a good character, actually. He played his role very well. But again, this is it. Like, if I'm going to want to watch our Star Wars heist, we've had 2 examples come up in this episode now, which are better heists than Andor. And for me, they're better heists because the characters have some personality to them.
Yeah, I mean, I think the problem with Andor is very much a British drama in terms of it's very much the late night BBC One detective style drama of everything is dark, everything's bleak, there's no shred of light to it. It's kind of everything's there for a reason. Everyone does what they're supposed to. Whereas Mando, Rebels, Clone Wars, all that kind of stuff, it has the Star Wars light to it. And you compare it as Solo, again, has some of the most spectacular. I know it's not John Williams doing it, but it also has some of the most spectacular music happening while that's going on as well. With Mando, you have Ludwig Göransson for that kind of stuff. And again, Andor, it's very much it's a more technical way of looking at things. It's very much a more British way of looking at things, and I enjoy it for especially as this show's a very long burn, and some bits coming up that I think that I'm incredibly interested to discuss with you because I absolutely adore them. I think you will too, but if you don't, I want to know why, because there's a lot to discuss. But these first 6 episodes are very slow roll, very slow burn. When I was discussing this at the time, when I was on Cinema Savvy with Dave and George, we were going over this. We had that same feeling of it's not quite there yet. It's building. The characters are kind of okay. Andor's a bit scummy, but something's there. But it's still very well written, but it's not kind of very well played at this point, and it gets better as it goes on. But
it's a difficult selfie. I just think right now it's great if it builds, fantastic. But 6 episodes, I'm at the halfway point. Is it 12 episodes or 18?
That's 12.
Okay, so I'm at the halfway point, and nobody's really that likable except for Luthen and Mon Mothma. Like, Mon Mothma's very intriguing to watch because she's got a balance and she's got an internal
Take Homer is also very interesting as well.
Who's he?
The guy from Chandrilla, the banker.
No, I've gone blank. And now I wish they were all called Tim. I don't remember the names.
Yep, it is very much the an entire Star Wars cast.
No, they should all be called Tim. Thinking about it, no, do you know I can't remember who that is. But genuinely, I just think like Luthen is the only person who's had a moment of joy.
Yeah.
In Andor, when he hears the news that this happened to the Empire last night, and he laughs and he smiles. I can't remember them smiling when they left the heist. No one seemed relieved that they pulled it off. Yeah, man. I just wish these characters had more charisma or a bit more likable because I'm not invested in their stories. Really at all. I find the main cast is revolving around are very dull, and it's the fringe characters who are very interesting. And if we're going to get a prequel series, this could easily have been Chirrut and
It could have been. The Guardian of the Wills is very interesting. And I must admit, actually, funny enough, again, talking of the High Republic. So on Rogue One, the giant Jedi statue that's
the trash one.
Yeah. So I've now read the Battle of Jeddah, so I now know what happens to that particular statue and why it's there, which is really cool.
Give me that as a series, dude. Give me like the Guardian of the Wills, the series. I feel like, and I think what the struggle is, and I think Andor is a hard sell for me because at the moment, and in my opinion, may change in the next 6 episodes, but right now, I feel like they've taken the dullest character from Rogue One and given him a 12-episode series, which is filled with equally as dull characters.
It's a shame. It's a shame that I must admit it's one of those stick with it ones, but because I do adore the series, especially with what's coming up, because I generally think the best is yet to come. But as I said when I was first watching it, it is a slow burner. And I'm glad that when they released it, they were only going to originally release the first 2. They ended up releasing the first 3 episodes. And I think if they didn't, it would have been mistakes. You need to have all three of those together, or else it doesn't make much sense.
But that is almost kind of telling in itself as well, with confidence and faith in the show. Do we release the first 2 episodes to drag people in, or we need to release the first 3 to drag people in? And that's kind of somewhat telling as well through their own confidence in it. I don't know, man. I'm finding it tough. Everything I like is cult of personality, and it's just cement. I was hoping that Andor himself, the character, would liven up at some point. You know what I mean? And I've got through another 3 episodes, being like, oh god, it's still a doll. He's the character equivalent of Porridge.
Yeah.
It's really tough, and I'm finding there's a lot of moments where the supporting characters are eclipsing him. They're not contributing to him. They're really eclipsing him. So there are moments that I forget Andor's even in a scene.
Yeah.
Which is weird. The first episode 4, the flashback to previously on Andor, because I kind of watched it because it's been a hot minute. And when the car blew up and it escaped on a speeder bike, I completely forgot that Andor was driving that speeder bike.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, of course he was there. I thought it was just Luthen.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, God. I'm forgetting that the titular character is in some of these scenes that he's in. And that
doesn't bode well. Yeah.
No. So, there's no offense to him. I'm sure he's a lovely chap. And I'd like to see other things he's been in, but I just feel like they picked the dullest character in Rogue One to make a series on. It could have been Mon Mothma, the series, and I'd be in love with it.
Yeah, I agree.
I'd be like, this is so good. It's about a politician. It's about a Mon Mothma series just being about her trying to deal with like the 3 faces. Trying to deal with them, trying to run a rebellion. I'm trying to be in the Senate, and I'm trying to run my home life. Super interesting premise. Like that would be excellent.
That's the thing, though. People, and it's what I found very interesting when you originally started watching Clone Wars. You complained a little bit there was too much politics, but politics is Star Wars, and it does get more compelling the more it goes on. And with Mon Mothma, especially, I agree. This would have, because of the political part, as well as having the actual home life and the rebellion all rolled. It does make for a more compelling story.
But that's what makes these late night BBC detective shows good. That's what made Life on Mars. That's what made Ashes to Ashes amazing.
Yeah.
Because what's her face in Ashes to Ashes? I can't remember her name for the life of me.
Neither can I. I know the character you mean, but neither can I.
But she just wanted to get back to her daughter.
Yeah.
So that's what makes these late night BBC detective shows really interesting, is that the main character has an existence outside of what they're doing. That there are multiple facets to the character that makes situations precarious, or contextualizes decisions, and it brings about a kind of real familiarity where I can see some myself in that. And Andor himself is very one-dimensional, and I think that's why he's saying it's like a late-night BBC program. It would be like a late-night BBC program if the main character only did one thing.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't have anything outside of who he is and had no charisma. I wouldn't watch that. I'd watch one episode and be like, no.
Whereas, fair enough, comparing it to the Rebels crew, Phoenix Squadron, they do the fight, but also they're a home life, they're a family. There's a lot more going on to it. There's growing pains. There's conflict within as well as without.
They're characters as well, dude. Like,
they are.
Chopper.
Chopper's a maniac. I love Chopper.
As much as I don't like Chopper, he is more interesting than Cassian Andor is. That's not good.
I love Chopper. He's fantastic. He's also like
can't talk and has little arms come out of his head. More interesting than Cassian Andor.
One of the highest kill counts in the entire Rebel Alliance.
Yeah, he's pretty nuts.
He's insane.
But you see what I mean? Like, the Rebels crew work, dude, because everyone's got a strong personality and a strong
bounces off each other. Whereas Andor at the moment doesn't do that. He's very substantive.
I get that it's a squad brought together, but again, you use Solo as a comparison, dude. This squad are going to go do this heist, and they added in Andor. They added in Captain Boring. Oh my God, Cassian Andor's James May.
Yep, fair.
You've got a crew going to do the heist, and they brought in Captain Slow.
Yep.
There we go. But in Solo, you had a crew off to do a heist, and they brought in this guy in the Wookiee he found. But they still all had their own personalities and were really strong characters. And even though Tobias Beckett ends up betraying them in the end, he's still really interesting and he's super fun to watch. And you get like that nice moment where they're around the campfire and they at least pretend to like each other the night before the heist. Here, have this gun. And Rio's like, have you got a girl at home? And they're having a conversation and they're learning about each other's personal lives. And they're like, we might not like each other, but let's just pretend to like each other to get through this. The crew that Andor is running with don't even pretend to like each other. They pull guns on each other as the kid with binoculars is like, there's TIE fighters. Yeah, dude, and I think that's its failing at the moment. It could change, but right now, I feel like, you know, you've got the Star Wars trope of a group of people coming together, right? It happens in every piece of Star Wars media.
Yep. Everything,
like all the way through. At least they like each other in everything else.
Yes.
You know, and they have a bit of fun doing it, like Rey and Poe and Finn and Luke and Han.
You and I both play D&D. We've both had, obviously, you have those parties where everybody gets on with everybody, bar that one person sometimes. And that one person ends up kind of,
oh my God,
you have to pretend like, and you have to work with it. And this is that one character who people don't want to play with.
No, dude, this is, you hit the nail on the head. This is like watching a D&D session of 5 people that don't like each other.
Yeah. And
the DM's doing all the hard work.
Yeah.
That is well done. What a good analogy, dude. You've hit the nail on the head for me. That's what Andor is to me right now. I'm watching 5 people who don't like each other play D&D. And a DM who's like, you meet this character called Mon Mothma. You meet this character called Luthen. That you meet this Imperial agent. And he's giving them all of the cues to work together to bounce off of, but they're not taking them.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm watching 5 people that don't like each other play D&D and being uncooperative with their DM, who's just doing so much work at producing amazing NPCs.
Which is why he then does a TPK at the end of it.
That is what I feel like. Yeah, do you know, that is the best analogy for where I'm at with Andor at the moment. I feel like, yeah, well done. That's what it feels like to me right now, and it could change. But right now, I don't want to watch 5 people pretend to like each other.
Yeah,
I could go to work and do that.
Yeah,
you know, if I want to go work and be in an office environment like the ISB and watch 5 people pretend to like each other, I'll go to work. Like, I don't want that in my Star Wars.
No.
So, yeah, I need to be halfway through the series. And I know it's really controversial because there's lots of people I know who rave about Andor and they think it's the best thing to come out of Star Wars. And I'm just kind of watching it like, oh, it doesn't feel very Star Wars, which is weird.
Well, it's why I saw something earlier who's taken Kenobi and he's re-edited it into a 2-hour film. Disney have given him a contract off the back of it. People genuinely are raving about it. I'm like, but why mess with perfection? This was 8 episodes of gloriness from the start. It did not need to be changed. Whereas Andor, I do love, but it has flaws. And the first 6 are the weakest half. And it's annoying that it has to be the first half because
it has flaws, mate. I just...
It does to me. It does to me because there's certain bits I love to it, but it's just, as you say, it's the characters that just don't want to play together, and it just doesn't work as well. And it's a problem because the writing is fantastic, but the Diego Luna is fantastic as Andor later on. I think he plays the scummy part well, and by the time you get to the end, I think you might have a different opinion, but it's like it's not going to be the same as your complete Kylo Ren 180, which I know you were hurting from him killing Han. But it was much more of he was a moody teenager in his 30s compared to the end of it where he has so much character development. Well, Andor has character development, but it's it's more of a slow burn. And the problem is when you're watching a series like this, especially when you're not watching it every week, when you're watching it in one hit, if you're not that invested, you are going to struggle that a little bit more to kind of chew through the fat to get to the meat.
Yeah, and I think there's the element of like Kylo Ren is such a good example to bring up because he's proof that you can make a character be inherently unlikable and do something that is like an unforgivable sin in like the cinema, in historic cinematic milestones, and have him turn around to be likable.
Yeah.
Like it's so much credit to the writing on that. Which I don't want to credit the sequel trilogy too much, but the credit to the writing on Kylo Ren was amazing.
Yeah,
From comes to Ben. So I really feel like, yeah, from any standpoint, like removing the Star Wars lens, I feel any series that you get to the halfway point and it hasn't really pulled you in isn't. If it wasn't Star Wars, I wouldn't be watching it.
Yeah.
If I'm honest, like, I'm thinking back to stuff I've watched outside of Star Wars in the past couple of years, and like things I've really like loved. Like The Bear. And I've said it's relevant because the kid who plays Richie's in it. That is the most incredible piece of television. It's and it rips you in from like the first couple of minutes, and it pulls you in, and it's really like it's so emotional. There's one episode that just stresses me out. I get really stressed out watching it. I've made my chef friends watch it. It'll just message me going, "That was incredible, but it's so real. Like it's so real." And milestone. Sweet Tooth was amazing. Completely pulled me in. Sweet Tooth. I loved that so much. So you got incredible TV, and I just think if anything gets to 6 episodes.
Yeah. Was I've been watching. I've been paused while I've been doing a lot of Star Wars stuff. I'm watching Stargate. I'm on season 4, and I've been absolutely hooked. Yeah, SG-1. Yeah. Because finally someone was like, "You do realize this is ancient Egypt in space?" I'm like, "Well, why the hell did no one tell me this from the start?" Yes, I will happily watch it. I've been absolutely hooked ever since.
Okay, it's amazing. Yeah,
Stargate's fantastic, and it's very much using the D&D analogy. Like that's players who want to play together who have different personalities. Like Teal'c is fantastic.
Teal'c, yeah, not T'Pau. Teal'c, he's great. Yeah. Have you seen the bit where he drinks the coffee?
Yes, yeah, that was season 3 or season 4. Yeah,
it sounds like this is a cold hot. This is very hot. What a legend! So see, he's a fun, likable character. They're likable. Even Dan is like likable. Yeah. He doesn't do a lot. So yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of, at this point with Andor right now. I'm very surprised it's getting a season 2. I'm like super surprised it's getting a season 2, and I'm surprised Andor's getting a season 2, and the future of Kenobi's in doubt.
Well, Kenobi doesn't need to have a season 2. I really
no, it doesn't. Like I don't want it. It's like I don't want a sequel to the Joaquin Phoenix Joker, but apparently it's happening. Well, we know it's happening with Lady Gaga playing Harley, but like. I thought Kenobi was enough, and then when they were just like Kenobi season 2, I was like, do you know what? It would probably be done very well, and I'd probably still enjoy it, and it would probably be fun. Doesn't need it, probably be good.
Because Ewan McGregor's like, I would love it, but Kathleen Kennedy's like, no, we said one and done. Unless there's a good reason for it, we ain't gonna do it, and I praise her for that because it shouldn't be done.
No, exactly. I don't think it needs a sequel, but. I'm surprised we're in a world where Andor's getting a sequel and Kenobi may not be. Well, at this point,
Andor was always originally written as 24 episodes of 2 seasons, so the second season was already greenlit before the first season that even aired. And I'm gonna end the show pretty much on the note of I'm loving where you're at with Rebels because you know my passion behind Rebels. I cosplay Kanan for a reason, and there's so much to talk about with that.
Yeah, man.
And there's stuff to talk about Andor, and the fact that there are two different things you're watching, both styles related. One, you're wanting to give full-on proper attention to, which is not the one I expected to, compared to the one that is harder to drag through.
Surprise!
Yeah,
yeah, but that's how these things happen. I like my characters to have character.
Yeah,
and I don't think Star Wars should be totally humorless either.
No,
and this is the other thing. Real good endpoint saying that, but one other point I was talking about Andor is at least Rogue One had humor in it.
Yeah,
like when they
K
put,
to SO. And
Texture
Chirrut and
reminded
Maze.
me last night when they put the hood over Chirrut's head, and he's just like, "Are you kidding me? I'm blind."
Yeah, I love that line.
Oh my god, I forgot about that line, and it's so fun.
So great.
So there's still humor in the Star Wars universe, and maybe not like the Mandalorian himself. Din Djarin doesn't make jokes, but damn right, everyone else around him does, and Grogu more than makes up for it. Din Djarin doesn't have a lot of personality, but Grogu does.
Yeah,
I mean, the double act. Din Djarin needs a sidekick there, I think, to be an effective.
and
Carrie,
so does
you know,
Andor, and we'll see more of it as we go on. I'm very interested to see next week what you think of the next three, or if we don't talk about Rebels. Either way, whatever we talk about, it's going to be good.
Doesn't need to be as humorless as it is, I think, is the other thing.
That's
like no one's made a wisecrack or a joke or anything, which I kind of get, but at the same time, it doesn't need to be.
Marva's that comic relief in a way, and she's only in it briefly.
But yeah, like kinda, but no one's like made any like fun things yet. Not even the Doctor of Four Arms. He could have been fun.
Yeah,
he wasn't.
No, but Fabius Bile has always been fun.
Yeah, but he like makes cunts up skin. Give me something. Yeah, that's the other one. Like Star Wars is not a humorless franchise.
No, and Andor is a little bit too serious on that regard. No, I'll give you that. But I'm interested to see next week where we're going to go with it, because there's some really cool stuff coming up that I want to hear your thoughts on. There's bits that, again, you're going to have a similar feeling, I think, of everything around Andor was great, Andor maybe was not, but there's some bits coming up where he starts to kind of develop more, and I think that will change, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, see what happens. It'll be interesting.
Indeed. But that's what we're going to the show for tonight. Of course, we will catch you next Thursday live at 8 p.m. We will see you then. Take care.
Yeah, we will.